Public and private economic actors hold intense debates at the 11th Cameroon Business Forum in Yaoundé, chaired by Prime Minister Joseph John Goute, with strong commitments to foster business creation and ensure fluidity in trade transactions. For an economy resistant to shocks like the coronavirus, a revolutionized 2021 business roadmap with improved insurance for building permits, conduct of transborder trade, and transfer of property are crucial. Feeding habits in institutions of higher learning are being altered to meet health challenges. From campus-run restaurants to roadside vendors and personal cuisine, students choose the safer option. Good evening and thanks for joining us on the 7:30 News. Those were the headlines.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Public and private actors of Cameroon's business environment are resolute to empower enterprises for a resilient economy. During the 11th session of the Cameroon Business Forum, chaired by Prime Minister Joseph John Goute today, commitments were taken to strengthen the business sector against shocks caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Christian Chertam reports on the recommendations made during the deliberations.
The 11th session of the Cameroon Business Forum was organized on a reduced format in respect of COVID-19 restrictions. The first part of the event was dedicated to speeches and exposés around the theme of the event, COVID-19, Proofing the Business Environment. In his keynote address, Prime Minister, Head of Government, Joseph John Goute, said the COVID-19 pandemic has caused serious damage to the country's business sector. He invited all stakeholders to contribute at their different levels towards ameliorating the situation. Joseph John Goute recalled that since the last business forum in Douala, government has implemented a number of recommendations to fluidify business transactions. The president of the Employers Union, Celestin Tawamba, for his part, pleaded for a more supple taxation policy to accompany the private sector. The president of the Chamber of Commerce, Christophe Eken, noted that businesses in the country applied the necessary protection measures to keep workers safe during the peak of the pandemic. The Minister of Finance, Louis-Paul Moutaze, and his counterpart of the economy, Alamin Ousmane Mey, both underscored incentives put in place by the government. Professor Tuna Mama earlier noted that pandemics are cyclical happenings which modern societies must learn to live with. The Doing Business Roadmap for 2020-2021, adopted during the deliberations, focuses on improvements in the creation of business, the transfer of property, and on the improvement of cross-border trade, as well as the execution of contracts and payment of taxes.
After the hours of exchange, the Prime Minister, Head of Government, Joseph John Goute, underscored the importance of continuing consultations between the public and the private sector. He enjoined the total implementation of the resolutions reached at, plus the acceleration of the decisions of the 10th edition. Here's an excerpt of the Prime Minister at the end of the forum.
Kind of event, because normally the Cameroon Business Forum meets in Douala, which is the economic hub of Cameroon, and there are usually over 500 participants. We were forced to do this right now because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The theme, appropriately, it's the consequences of COVID-19 on our private sector and how to relaunch our economy. It has enabled us design a roadmap. We'll roll it out under the supervision of the President of the Republic, Head of State, President Paul Biya, and we expect that in the coming months the reforms that have been suggested would effectively take place and make our economy stronger.
This year's session of the Cameroon Business Forum, holding on the theme COVID-19 Proofing the Business Environment, is a call for concerted action to cushion the effects of the pandemic. Economics insist that in spite of the ravaging effects of the spread, there are a number of opportunities to be exploited in domains such as health, tourism and social service. Clarice Takang tells us more.
Analysts are unanimous. There is a whole lot COVID-19 could do for the economy if actors can get past their worries.
Cameroon is a virgin country. There are opportunities in which they can compete. Investments relating to social facilities or social sectors could be much more favored. Perhaps community development investments and getting into primary sector industry investment will be good. It will be more favorable than the tertiary.
Potential has been discovered.
With the borders closed, it was difficult to get raw materials, so we used our cotton to produce local fabric which respects standards. You have fabric which is less costly. It is an opportunity for us.
The areas of interest are broad.
We can develop technical platform of our hospital to international standard. We can develop a very huge market, local market, that is product, transform and develop local consumption, even local tourism.
A pandemic with grievous consequences, yes, but which could serve as a push to get into profitable waters, experts hold.
The annual business forum, which grouped the finest minds in the economic sector, has a number of peculiarities. Not only did it hold within the backdrop of the coronavirus scare, it coincides with the second phase of the National Development Strategy paper for 2020-2030. How can the far-reaching decisions impact economic growth? Veronica Benyala provides answers.
Apart from the COVID-19 challenges that government and the private sector have to put in a concerted effort to overcome, the situation of the Cameroon economy has been dangling. The Doing Business Index of Cameroon has dropped. COVID-19 has come to reinforce the discussions of the 2019 CBF, which laid emphasis on building the way to industrialization, a business-friendly tax policy, and an import-export strategy that promotes emergence. For this to work, the private sector needs to increase production, invest in up-to-date technology, and improve on personnel skills. The World Bank has cited the economic resilience of Cameroon as remarkable. It ranks third in Africa after Rwanda and Senegal. The industrialization of the local economy is also the major preoccupation of the private sector, whose cry to government to reduce tax drive justifies it to the need to allow local industries to strive. Therefore, the Cameroon Business Forum continues to be the actual platform for the collective efforts of the public and private sector for the development of Cameroon.
Away from our top story, the African Women Entrepreneurship Program to assist women's entrepreneurs across sub-Saharan Africa is providing tools and opportunities to maximize their outputs. Women engaged in small and medium-sized ventures are also being drilled on ways to get financing and to expand their businesses. Here's an excerpt of the president of the organizing committee, Rose Simon Mangele.
You will see some women, they don't know where to go if they want to be founded. They don't even know that they have to formalize their company to be founded by a bank. They don't even know how to do to open a banking account. Training is also important. So those women will have information. They will learn about their experiences. They will learn about what difficulties they have faced when they were building their companies.
The development program has impacted Cameroon's decentralization process through the elaboration of legal instruments that finance local decentralized entities. It has also influenced the establishment of local public service and the population's contribution in local development. These benchmarks were highlighted by the national coordinator of the Community-Driven Development Program, PNDP, Mrs. Marie-Madeleine Ga, today. Kilian Dandifon reports.
Through the Community-Driven Development Program (PNDP), the Debt Relief Development Contract C2D is in its third phase. 2004-2009, 2010-2016, and 2016 to 2022, with the total of over 63 billion CFA francs spent, with the help of financial and technical partners, BAD, FIDA, World Bank, and AFP, through MINAT. 1,253 micro-projects, mostly water and drainage systems, have been realized. These strikes of the C2D through the National Community-Driven Program were highlighted in a press breakfast in Yaoundé, with focus on contribution to decentralization.
As a spirit, the law of financial of local decentralized entities, employment, we have the dynamism, participation, and the commitment of the communities which made up the councils.
The common goal of the Debt Relief Development Contract and PNDP is to improve on the living conditions of the communities.
In this development story, emergency rehabilitation and construction works have resumed on the east entrance to Douala, expected to be completed by December this year. The Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Nganu-Jumesi, in continuation of his working visit, evaluated the progress of the work and prescribed the respect of deadlines. Joyce Kimbi Fuaju has the details.
It was on the maintained Sanaga Bridge that Minister Nganu started his visit to the littoral. But focus is on the much talked about emergency works on the Douala East entrance. It's 15% executed by Razel Company, 2 weeks into resumption after cancellation of the former contract with the Chinese company last year. Works consist of enlarging existing roads and pathways, rehabilitating roundabouts, access road to the Japoma Stadium and bypass itineraries ahead of the AFCOM 2021. Enthusiastic engineers are instructed by the minister to finish in 2 months to facilitate traffic flow. Beneficiaries appreciate.
It's evolving. Traffic has been eased and we wish works continue on the same page. We now drive with ease. I wish construction works continue like this and they should continue to its completion.
After the east entrance, degrading spots on the west entrance to Douala was also evaluated by Minister Nganu, calling for an immediate rehabilitation before heading for the Mongo division.
A cocoa treatment center has been inaugurated in Bindalima village in Twi to boost the activities of schools of cocoa producers in the area. The Minister of Trade, Luke Magloire Mbaga Tangana, during the commissioning, urged the farmers to use the structure to step up the grade of their yields in order to meet international standards. Clarice Aritakang has the details.
It was one of the cries of the locals of Bindalima village in Twi, Mbam and Kim division of the Central region. As cocoa growers of the locality confessed, their desire has been granted. With a cocoa treatment excellence center now at their disposal, they're expected to step up their cocoa activities, the main one being to supply the domestic and international market with premium beans. This was highlighted during the inauguration of the structure at a time when Cameroonian cocoa is getting positive reviews at the international level.
You have seen the chocolate makers. They are very satisfied of the quality of our cocoa beans. So the problem is now to expand this policy all around our country.
It was equally the occasion to stress the need growing a more youthful experience. This is the goal of the New Generation program backed by the state.
A project to assess development plans in the 10 regions triggered by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development is being finalized. Minister Gabriel Mbairobe, in a consultation with agricultural stakeholders, outlined people development-oriented programs based on performance at a conclave in Kolandam in the South region. Clarence Azay has the details.
For the 2 days, the senior staff and heads of decentralized services of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development from across the country finalized the budget preparation and drafting process of the ministry for 2021.
We share the investment budget and the functioning budget between different actions.
The ministry has outlined specific programs, actions and activities that will improve Minada's performance and the emergence of the agricultural and rural development sector next year.
We gave an appropriate provision to the production of rice, for the production of cocoa, cassava, plantain, maize.
Minister Gabriel Mbairobe urged his collaborators to work towards better results so that Cameroon can curb the importation of basic foodstuffs.
1 week into the new academic year, students in institutions of higher learning are conscious of the risk of uncontrolled eating habits amidst the coronavirus. Their options include campus restaurants, roadside vendors, or personal cuisines to keep the virus at bay. Cynthia Saptala was at the University of Yaoundé-Toussoua and sought to know the choices of students.
This is one of the popular restaurants, according to students of SWA. Found opposite the entrance of the university, along some corridors in between buildings, is Mami Ero, the original, known for serving one dish, the one craved by most of the students.
They like to eat the Ero because I serve them very well. From 500 to 800, can say 120 per 130 per day.
On site, we meet Raphael, a Master's 2 student, who says this feeding option helps to save time.
I've once been to the restaurant. On campus, the plate of food is 100 francs.
There too was another, Arthur, who agreed to take us to his lodging quarters around the campus. Though properly equipped with a kitchen and its utensils, the young man says the last time he used any of these was 3 weeks ago when he had to fry fish to entertain his friends. Apart from the restaurant on campus, students have all these other options around.
At 6 o'clock, we always have beignet, we have pap. When it's about 10 o'clock, we have now chicken.
And it does seem that many prefer it this way rather than make something at home.
The University of Boya has opted for e-learning this academic year to enable students have access to their notes through the use of ICTs. But what model is going to be adopted? Details with Ombo Suzy Monjoa.
As the customary setup of learning is changing with the COVID-19 pandemic and the fast evolution in technology, the University of Boya has also been making strides to exploit e-learning models in order to keep up with the trends. Experts in the Faculty of Education have been at work to ensure that this approach of learning is adopted while ensuring the respect of quality standards.
In January, we had a training on the general principles of writing courses to be used for our online program, which is in the distance education program in the University of Boya. The support system that we are going to give them is also looking at issues of the course materials. So what we are doing now, we are trying to develop course materials that will be used online through e-learning.
This technique in the teaching learning process will see the adoption of a strategic and systematic approach to the use of technology combined with the best features of face-to-face interaction.
I really want to congratulate the Faculty of Education, which has a very long experience in distance education.
The e-learning mode comes to provide a blended learning approach that combines learning at a distance and the traditional on-campus learning.
For the past 6 years, the Department of University Accreditation and Quality in the Ministry of Higher Education has been classifying schools with outstanding performance in 2 examinations, the Brevet de Technicien Supérieur and the Higher National Diploma. This year, schools specialized in the fields of technology topped the merit chart. Beatrice Ngum reports on the move meant to promote excellence.
These private higher institutions of learning are classified based on the number of students enrolled in the school, number that registered the exams, and the number of successful candidates.
We moved the arithmetic system to the system of capitalized credit, and we see the progress on the percentage of réussite.
For the HND, like for the BTS, schools specialized exclusively in technology stood out.
Principally in ICT, some in industrial.
52 schools wrote under the 2 categories of classification at the HND. 24 were particularly outstanding, with the Biaka University Institute in Boya recording the highest percentage.
It gives us the hope that in that place, the position of school is better.
At the BTS, 86 specialties are concerned. 14 distinguished themselves in rank and percentage. The classification is limited to schools that enrolled at least 50 candidates at the exams.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
To avoid the spread of the coronavirus, health checks have been intensified at Nsimalen International Airport. With flights from abroad increasing by the day, there is a systematic check of COVID-19 test results, temperature levels, and hand-washing sequences. Baldwin Sama talks with Dr. Emmanuel Minyem on the control post at the airport. We join them at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kima. It remains one of those areas through which the coronavirus can easily get into the country and can easily spread if measures are not put in place, and especially if these measures are not respected. We are talking about the airport. And what about the case of the Yaoundé Nsimalen International Airport? We talk about that with our guest tonight, Dr. Emmanuel Minyem, who is the head of the health control post over there. Good evening, doctor.
Yeah, good evening, Baldwin.
What measures have been put in place to limit the spread of the coronavirus at the airport?
So first of all, I should say that I should specify that the borders have not been yet reopened, but airlines companies have been granted authorization to overflight our borders. So to prevent the spread of COVID-19, the Ministry of Public Health has taken steps to strengthen our surveillance system, especially regarding detection, decontamination and disinfection, and of course carrying out COVID tests for those passengers who come without a valid COVID PCR test. And let me add that to enter Cameroon, a passenger his COVID-19 test done by the PCR method less than 3 days.
And what happens if that person is tested positive or anybody is tested positive at the airport?
Okay, the Ministry of Public Health has granted us at the airport, has granted the frontal health post with equipment and facilities for quarantine for these patients, for these travelers who are tested positive. So there is a facility where we can carry out this type of passengers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emmanuel Minyem. You're the head of the health control post at the Yaoundé Nsimalen International Airport. These systematic checks continue on daily basis at the Yaoundé Nsimalen International Airport to avoid any possibility of the spread of the coronavirus in the country. We are talking about Cameroon. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Thanks, Baldwin, for details on the reinforced security and check of passengers at the International Airport of Yaoundé to keep the coronavirus out of the country. In education, the oral examinations of the National Institute of Youth and Sports, INGS, and of the National Center for Youth and Sports, SENAGES, have taken place in Yaoundé through video conferencing. It was supervised by the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform, Joseph Lay, and experts of the African Institute for Computer Sciences. Jamila Katzalat reports on this year's innovations.
An administrative reform served as examination center for some 50 candidates who are taking part in the oral session of the competitive entrance into INGS and SENAGES. They were amongst 400 candidates who succeeded in the written part of the exams. The Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform personally supervised the oral session.
The head of state, as always, says we must modernize our administration. we must simplify and dematerialize our procedures. That's what we are doing today. Then we have the COVID pandemic.
The video conference oral examination session was organized with the expertise of the Africa Institute of Computer Science. This is the first time it's being organized electronically in Cameroon.
A very good idea in the modernization of our country by ICT.
Learning from this experience, the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reform is looking forward to carrying out virtually all future competitive entrance examinations in Cameroon.
In sports, the Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Professor Narcis Molekombi, has expressed satisfaction with the level of the execution of works on the OLEMBE Sports Complex. He made the evaluation during an inspection visit today, barely 3 months to the African Nations Championship. Baldwin Sama has the details.
Sports and Physical Education Minister Professor Narcis Molekombi, accompanied by Central Regional Governor Nasiri Paul Beya, enjoying the beauty of the newly constructed press conference hall of the OLEMBE Sports Complex, already completed ahead of the 2022 Africa Cup of Nations. Prior to the CAF inspection visits next week, their main concern was the annex stadia of this stadium, which could be used as training grounds for the upcoming African Nations Championship. From the turf passing through the different tribunes, much work has been done here to make these stadia meet recommended standards.
I am not only satisfied, I'm happy with what I've seen today, with the evolution of the works on the various playgrounds and even in the other components of the stadium.
Minister Narcis Molekombi also visited the dressing rooms with instructions given as to what is left to be done for them to be ready. Their last stop was at the main stadium itself, which remains a veritable attraction as Cameroon gets ready to successfully host the 2022 Africa Cup of Nations.
Still in sports, the newly appointed head coach of the Intermediate Lions of Cameroon, Martin Tungumpile, says his team will immediately begin scouting talents to boost the performance of the squad. He revealed his work plan and intention to satisfy the country's football fans during an interview today at the CAF Excellence Center in Bankomo. Romeo Kenye reports.
The time for unpleasant result is over for the Intermediate Lions of Cameroon. It is now time for serious business, with the new coach setting his vision for the squad.
We are going to set up a program of preparation this week, and from Monday, we are going to start working.
Martin Tungumpile will work in synergy with Emmanuel Dubeboso and David Pagu to get the work done. A cream of tacticians reputed in local football.
I've been knowing Pagu since a long time. He's a very good trainer, and he's the Cameroon champion. I also know Dumbe Boso.
Before his appointment, his predecessor had convened a 28-man selection to begin camping on Sunday.
Fecafoot is ready to give all the materials, all the means.
62-year-old Martin Tungumpile believes an imminent kickoff of the new football season will heighten chances of fishing out the best that can make the country proud come January in the Continental Showdown.
Public and private economic actors have had intense debates at the 11th Cameroon Business Forum in Yaoundé, chaired by Prime Minister Joseph John Kuté. They had strong commitments to foster business creation and ensure the fluidity in trade transactions. That was our main story. Tonight, more news comes up at 8:30 p.m. with Adel Mbala. Tomorrow, Ben and Boumagana will be your host at 7:30 p.m. I'll be back on Monday. God willing, have a beautiful weekend ahead. Good night and thanks for watching the 7:30 News. Stay tuned to our programs on CRTV.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.